Chapter read Whispers of the Storm by Z.B Steele. Intro.
So, how many people have you killed? The prisoner, a thin, ragged man, lying on cobbled ground, held up shackled hands and began counting on his fingers until he ran out. Well, more than 10. I heard it was thousands, the young guard said, his grin beaming. I heard all sorts of stories about you growing up. I used to look up to you. And now you're a prison guard. A foolish child has grown into a foolish man. The guard dropped the food tray to the ground just outside the barred door. Seems ironic calling the one with your food a fool before they give you your meal. I've never denied being one. You could travel all of Usmal and never find a bigger fool than I. The guard said nothing to that, but he did pick up the tray and slide it into the prisoner's cell. Still hard to believe it's you. You wanted all across the nation, you know. It's funny how language works. Once I was needed across the nation, and they adorned me with titles, marriage requests, lands, and riches. Now I'm wanted, and the only thing anyone wants from me is the noose. Hard to blame them for that. The massacre at Ireland left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Now it was the prisoner's turn to not respond. Long, black hair, dull and in desperate need of a wash, covered his face as he turned. The guard took it as a willing condemnation, an admission of guilt. So, how many? The guard asked again. One too many is all I can say. Sharp, pronounced boot clicks sounded from the hall. 4 Imperial guards adorned in grey chainmail and red sashes opened the door and occluded the small jail. They pushed the young guard against the wall and made sure all the cells were locked. Clear! One of the Imperials yelled out. The boot clicks continued, and a thin, hawkish-looking man stepped in. He was clean, sharply dressed, and bald. Although the beginning of his beard was grey, his eyes were those of a younger man. He was the opposite of the prisoner, who was ragged and long of hair and beard, and whose eyes were sullen and dead, those of a man already executed. Separated by the iron bars, the Imperials stood directly in front of the prisoner and glared with restrained fury. Ah, REDLIN of the Wolves, Vanguard, the Thunderblade, the Justicar's Revenge, the Reaper in the Winds, the Assassin in Grey, the Storm itself. It's a lot of titles for a prisoner. I presume Victim of the States will be my next title. Victim? Hardly. Your sentence is warranted. You'll hear no disagreement from me, REDLIN said honestly. Spare me the self-condemnation, the Imperial said. Truly, the only thing I find more disgusting than that attitude is the fact you were caught in a settlement like Fale's Folly. Guard, what was he arrested for again? The warden found him sleeping outside. Figured he'd been drinking, the young guard said quickly. His words were muffled as one of the Imperial guards had him squeezed against a wall. Sleeping, the Imperial said with a sneer. That's what brought the great REDLIN to justice. Pathetic. You have a lot of misplaced rage for an Inquisitor, REDLIN said, looking at the ground. Tell me, did you serve in my war? The Inquisitor's demeanour changed upon hearing the question. Contempt turned to malice, and his voice changed from steel to ice. Open the cell. The Imperial holding the young guard searched for the keys, and then 2 of them escorted the prisoner out of the cell, holding him firmly by the wrists. The Imperials were big men, selected for their size and martial prowess. But REDLIN still stood taller than them. However, he made no move to resist as they pulled and prodded. He was brought forth to the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor punched him in the stomach. REDLIN exhaled with pain and doubled over, but was held up by the restrained guards. The Inquisitor launched 2 more punches, each bringing groans of agony. The Imperials released him, and he fell to the ground. Defeated, brought low, and without the fire of rebellion, Redlin lay upon the stone floor. Memories of gales, of thunder, of blood, and of glory shot through his brain. He tapped fingertips to palm twice, clenched a fist, and tried to rise. Another boot met his ribs. He coughed and fell over. Pain reminded him he was no longer the same man from Legends. He was a prisoner. Nothing more, nothing less. So he continued to lie upon the cool stone. "Bring him with us," the Inquisitor demanded. As he turned, he threw a single silver coin at the young guard's feet. "Your Archon thanks you for your service." Redlin sat in the carriage, his wrists and ankles shackled. It was roomy, as far as carriages went, with open windows, wooden walls adorned with tapestries of the Archon's sigil, and plush, red seats that could easily seat 4 people. A cabin like this would have booked a handsome price for nobles travelling the countryside. All in all, lush travelling for the most notorious man in the nation. "Master Redlin?" a gentle voice asked from outside the window. The carriage was travelling slowly enough for the asker to do a walk jog next to him. She was young, with blonde hair that bounced with each awkward step, and orange eyes that shone like twin flames against the morning sunlight. Redlin turned to face her but said nothing. If she felt anything intimidating from the cold stare, she didn't show it. "May I join you?" "I don't think I could stop you," Redlin said, rattling his shackles. She sped up and climbed aboard while the carriage continued to move. Her struggles and curses against the rocking mobile made the prisoner chuckle, despite his own situation. She managed to climb aboard and plop down with the grace of a sack of potatoes. "Well, you'd think they'd slow down for a lady," she said as she brushed the hem of her dress. "The Imperial collectors aren't known for their treatment of the fairer sex, unfortunately." "That's true, and I should know, as I am one," she said, then offered a hand to shake. "A collector, that is. Well, both, now that I think about it. My name is Maya Eagling." Maya left her hand outstretched with her chin tilted forward and her eyes widened, the picture of innocence. Sunshine fell down on her in perfect angles, illuminating her fiery eyes that shone and burned with kindness. "You'd shake hands with a Reaper?" Redlin asked. "I'd shake hands with a Thunderblade. Where I grew up, you were a legend. My dad still talks about you that way, and I'd be honoured to tell him I shook hands with you," she said, smiling. "Drop the act. Whoever informed you did a piss-poor job. Countryside manners and flattery have never worked on me," Redlin said coldly. Maya leaned back into the shadows of the caravan. Her expression of farm girl, of innocent beauty, was gone, and replaced with a winter's harshness. "No, of course not. Flattery is for weaker men. The great Redlin would never fall for it." "Moving from flattery to beration, aye? That won't work. I think you can do better. But if you can't, just tell me what you want and be gone." "Fine. You want to talk business? We'll talk business. I want your story. Your recollection of events. Regardless of your current standing, you were there on the precipice of many important events, and I'd like them recorded," the woman said, harsh professionalism dripping from her voice. Redlin matched her pose, leaning back just as she had, and wished he had a pipe to smoke. He scratched his bearded chin, pushed the hair out of his face, and matched her less than amicable gaze. "Fuck off," he said. She smiled at that. A slight grin. She rifled through a pouch attached to her hip and produced a pipe and some char. She loaded it, lit it, took a smoke, and offered it to Redlin, who was watching with suspicion. "Please, Master Redlin, if we wanted you dead, you'd be dead. Travelling with us is a form of vanguard, one versed in shattering. We could stop this wagon, have you killed, and then travel on inside of a safer Usmal," Maya said. He took the pipe after that, followed by a long pull. He held it for a moment before ending in a ragged cough. Earthy smelling smoke blew out of the window. Sources say you could breathe thunder and shit lightning. But here you are, choking in my cabin, Maya said. 1. Any tale about me should be treated with utmost doubt. 2. I used to be able to do something like that. 3. This is my cabin. You're merely a visitor, REDLIN said. Your cabin? Maya asked, with eyebrows raised. Yes, my cabin. Seems only fair, as I'm the primary occupant. For a time. For a time, REDLIN agreed, and smoked more of the pipe. Can I ask you something? Maya asked, as she got into a more comfortable position. Sure, but fake vulnerability doesn't suit you. It's hardly vulnerability, Master REDLIN, Maya said as she reached for the pipe. I'm going to be here for a while, so I might as well get comfortable. You wouldn't be the first woman to think she was going to get to know me, but they all ended up disappointed, REDLIN said. You should tip your whores better. Then they'll at least act like it was a good time. Oh, she jokes. You probably were the right person to send to get my stories. But the answer is still fuck off, REDLIN said. What would make you share your version of events? The key to these shackles would be a good start. You quip, but I don't believe you. We'd have never found you if you hadn't wished it. I mean, public drunkenness in Fales Folly? If even one of the stories about you is true, this couldn't be accidental. Why did you let yourself get arrested? First, you want all of my past, and now my present, REDLIN said as he took the pipe back. I'll give you credit. The pretender I first met played a nice role, but he's not the one holding the cards here. You are. A hint of a smile spread across Maya's face. Usually takes people a few weeks to figure that out, she said. I'm something of an expert when it comes to reading people. The same has been said about me, but all I see is a beaten down man, one like a starving dog. Perhaps that's all there is to see. Perhaps, Maya said, mirroring the tone. She leaned forward. You're an interesting one. Something more to you. I can almost see through it, but not quite. What are you up to, REDLIN? REDLIN responded with a pull of the pipe and the slightest beginning of a grin. The grin of a troublemaker. The creaking of the caravan and the smell of dust on the wind were his answers. Just a broken old man, then? Put on your performance if you want to. But tell me one thing, Maya said, taking the pipe. What truly happened in Limbo? REDLIN's expression narrowed at the question. His dull onyx eyes turned a glimmering black, and the defeated wryness was replaced with hate and suspicion. A falcon screeched overhead, and the winds picked up, shaking the cabin. Who told you to ask that? He asked. Oh, the Archon, Maya said, dropping the name of the most powerful person in Usmal as casually as someone would talk about their own child. As soon as the name was mentioned, the winds picked up further. What started as a slight breeze became a rising gale, and it showed no sign of stopping. The cabin rocked back and forth, the groans of the axles were the dying laments of the mortally wounded. A hooded man rode up next to the carriage, his hand outstretched and face towards REDLIN. Maya held up a signal for wait to the man on horseback. As quickly as the gales had started, they died away. How is the dear man these days? REDLIN asked, the first words barely escaping an iron-bound jaw. Busy, as you can imagine. That's why he sends me places, however, and it's why he sent me to you. What does he want from me? I already told you. He wants your stories, your version of events. In particular, he asked me to find out what happened in Limbo. He specifically requested it? He did, Maya reiterated. I thought you were some sort of biographer at first, REDLIN said. He looked out the window. and scratched at his beard. I am some sort of biographer. The Inquisitors have all sorts of useful professions, and note-taking, and psychological evaluation are some of the best. My methods just include torture, bribery, violence, and at times a nice ride through the countryside with a lit pipe, Maya said as she handed the pipe back over. So, my story isn't going to be a riveting bestseller for the masses. We'd never let your words hit the masses. Too much risk of stirring them up. But your story will be read by at least one clamouring individual. The Archon. REDLIN smiled and raised the pipe. A slight shimmer in the air occurred, thick and hazy. That'll work.